If you're listening to this, I promise that we just had a real life Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Ooh, spooky.
So this comes out on Tuesday, the 18th or something, but
We just had a 13th.
yeah,
And it was a Friday.
it was.
I'm Erin.
I'm Tom.
This is Baby's First Watch List, the podcast that's doing another scary movie marathon this year. But it seems less scary.
Well, last year we also did the Charlie Brown specials,
Yeah, that was fun.
so that wasn't really scary.
That's true. This week is a scary movie. It's about 1980s Friday the 13th. This is an indie film, and it's one of those classic slasher movies. Maybe one of like the first ones.
Yeah, well, the first one I think is credited as Halloween,
Yeah,
right? Like the first one that at least did well.
right.
And
And this was not long after.
it was 2 weeks before The Shining, which we just covered last week.
It was directed by Sean S. Cunningham, who's like a horror guy through and through, but honestly, Friday the 13th is his best known credit.
Yeah.
He did something called House, but not the show.
House.
House.
What year?
I don't know, but it was House. It was a movie called House.
There's a famous underground Japanese movie called House, but it's from the 70s. So I'm wondering if it's like a remake of that.
Oh, I wonder. It's Sean S. Cunningham, and the movie is House.
No,
Probably.
original story. Original story. So
Yeah.
it's not from that.
The movie was written by Victor Miller, who is better known as a writer on soap operas.
Oh, really?
All My Children, Guiding Light, and One Life to Live. And he actually has 3 daytime Emmys for writing on All My Children.
Interesting.
You would think that there'd be more characterization on Friday the 13th.
Why?
Because soap operas are all about characterization.
Well, I would say they're about plot.
Maybe a little bit of both. The noteworthy music in the film with the is by Harry Manfredini. And the movie stars Betsy Palmer, Adrian King, Harry Crosby, who is the son of Bing, aka Bing Crosby. And it stars Kevin Bacon.
It does. He's in it for longer than I thought.
Yeah, he's a real character. He's a real life character.
Like
in it.
when I heard about this and Nightmare on Elm Street being Johnny Depp's first role, like first noted role, I assumed that they were like little cameos, but no, both of them are like parts
They're
of the
characters.
main group.
So that's pretty fun. It's always cool to see stars in, one of their first couple movies.
Yeah.
Kevin Bacon, of course, was in Animal House first.
Yes.
But then this was like a couple years after that. One other interesting casting note, truck driver Enos, played by Rex Everhart, also was the voice of Maurice in 1991's Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
So that's pretty neat.
Got a true star in our hands.
True star. Yeah, because I was like, wow, that's a kind guy. And
Maurice.
there you go. It's just Maurice. It's crazy old Maurice.
Enos is smarter than Maurice.
Enos, like, he knows to stay away from Camp Blood.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Maurice is like walking into the castle.
Yeah, exactly. They're like opposite characters.
Yeah.
Wow, that guy's got range.
Yes, exactly.
The production of this movie was interesting. Wow.
Wow. That's an English teacher right there.
Before the script was completed, director Cunningham took out an ad in Variety looking to sell the film, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
The original screenplay was called A Long Night at Camp Blood, which actually connects more to the movie than I think Friday the 13th does. But Friday the 13th is snappier.
It is.
And it was inspired by the success of Halloween.
Yeah, for sure. There's a little bit of Psycho to it. There's a little bit of Carrie to it, which I read after the fact.
Yeah.
'Cause I've never seen Carrie.
Cunningham also previously was known for working on Wes Craven's Last House on the Left.
Oh, okay.
But sort of wanted to get away from that type of horror film and veered towards that kind of new indie slasher genre.
Yeah.
The casting of the movie was also unique. The director said he didn't really care about actors that were good.
I think I have this in my trivia.
He just wanted good-looking people who could kind of read lines, and they would work for like not a lot of money.
Yeah, they would work for cheap.
That's all he cared about. We are actually going to take a quick veer into our New Jersey connection early. Yeah. So ready?
The movie.
You're going to get connected for free. Free. New Jersey connection. Okay, so this movie actually takes place in New Jersey,
A great state.
the best state in the whole
Just
nation.
like how Halloween is based off of Haddonfield, New Jersey.
I mean, is that a sign or what that maybe people don't love New Jersey as much as they should?
Well, I
Horror
think-
movies being set or inspired by our state.
Well, I think it credits the fact that New Jersey is an idyllic suburban area.
True.
There are areas in New Jersey, at least, that are.
New Jersey is so wonderful that it is the most unexpected place that you would ever expect
Exactly.
crazy bad stuff to happen.
Yes.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. So in this
That's
case,
my spin on this on the subject.
it does take place in like kind of a fake town
Yeah, but it is in New Jersey.
within Warren County, New Jersey, which honestly might as well not be in New Jersey because I've never been there.
It's also way further from us than like Philly is.
Yeah, exactly. But it still counts. And filming took place in Warren County, New Jersey at a Boy Scout camp that is still running today.
Don't they have like memorabilia there and stuff?
Oh, it's a whole
You
thing.
got to capitalize on it.
Yeah. Makeup artist Tom Savini, who worked a lot with George A. Romero
Okay.
on things like
Which is
Night of the Living Dead and all that kind of stuff.
noted for its makeup, so.
Yes, he was integral to the special effects in this movie, particularly the gory parts, all the injuries and such. There was actually a bidding war for the movie, with it being the first independent slasher film to be acquired by a major motion picture studio. It was a big commercial success, making $59.8 million on a $550,000 budget.
Wild.
That's amazing. It was the second highest, profitable film, like in net profits, like
Yeah.
if you take out how much it costs and whatever, in 1980 after Airplane.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is another great movie.
Yeah,
We watched it on our first date.
it's true.
There was a more mixed response critically, with both the film and actress Betsy Palmer getting nominations at the inaugural Razzie Awards. So 2 weeks in a row, we've covered movies that have received 2 Razzies in its original year,
In 1980.
1980.
Well, 81, whatever year the
Yeah.
Razzies were.
It has since then, though, become a cult classic, especially in relation to the last 20 minutes of the film. 10 sequels have been released.
Is that what they said in
Yeah.
the last 20 minutes? Because we loved the last 20 minutes.
That's like the only good part.
That's the best
to be
part of
honest.
the movie.
10 sequels have been released with actually the diner scene's pretty good too.
Yeah, because of the diner lady.
I love her. So there have been 10 sequels with Jason Voorhees himself being introduced as the main antagonist in the second film because
Which is kind of a spoiler.
Spoilers, he's not in this one. His hockey mask was introduced in the third film, which is now considered an iconic horror image. There has been a novel, comic books, and video games based on Friday the 13th. And Jason goes to space. He takes Manhattan. He goes to the place down south. And I'm not talking about Texas, y'all.
The Deep South.
And he fights Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
A big journey from 1980 until now.
Yeah.
That
It is wild that there hasn't been another reboot or remake in like 15 years almost already.
Yeah, there was one in the 2000s.
I think it was 2008, and then the Elm Street one came in 2009.
Yeah.
And there's been neither since.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Halloween just keeps churning them out.
Yeah. I read there was something to do. Cunningham and Miller, I think, were fighting over the rights to the series. So I think that's why part of the reason why no new ones have come out since the reboot.
I gotta be honest. I thought that this one was a little boring.
I didn't love it.
Wasn't my favorite. I liked the last 20 minutes, but that's about it.
So I felt a similar way that I felt about Halloween, but Halloween had more interesting cinematic techniques.
I was gonna say Halloween has more artistic merit, I think.
This is a B movie Halloween.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's a fine movie. It's just that we've seen it so many times as of 2023.
And seen it done maybe in more creative ways.
Right. But in 1980, again,
it was amazing. I get it. Even though critics didn't think so.
Well, not even that it was amazing, but it was at least unique and something different and a breath of fresh air.
Clearly something struck a nerve because it made so much money.
Yeah.
And because we've seen Jason do it all.
2 people did hate it, and I will get to them later. Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel. Both of them.
2 kings.
Both of them had many tirades against the Friday the 13th series, which I will tap into.
It's kind of annoying because if they hated it the first time, then they have to watch 10 sequels. That stinks.
I will tell you that Roger Ebert, he actually didn't write a review on this one that I could find. Siskel wrote a very famous one, which I'll get into, but Ebert wrote the most he ever gave a Friday the 13th movie was the reboot, 2 stars.
That's the most.
He said, this is about all you can ask for in a Friday the 13th movie.
2 stars.
2 stars.
All right.
So I will get to that in more detail later on, but Siskel and Ebert, 2 thumbs down for these movies.
This is what I will say about Friday the 13th. Number one, I do love a camp setting. I think that's fun.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of, quaint. I like
It's everyman.
Yeah, I like that. Of course, I love a New Jersey setting, so it automatically gets 5 out of 5 for me.
Yes.
I like the twist, the subversion of whatever.
Betsy Palmer's the best part of this movie.
And I really like the last thing here. I think it's really fun. Apparently also this movie, I mean, you go off of what you see. I don't know. But apparently the character of Ned was the first comedic guy in a horror movie.
Who was Ned?
The other friend that kept joking around and doing things that were
the
not
guy with 88 on it, the jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he was that first kind of oh, look, there can be a comedic funny guy who's one of the victims in the movie.
There definitely wasn't in Halloween.
No. So that they said was kind of a an innovative thing in the genre.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting.
Well, Psycho's a slasher, isn't it?
Psycho's a slasher, but there's no funny guy.
Well, no. I'm just going back to this Halloween being the first. It wasn't really the first, I guess, but
I mean, I don't know. I feel
like Halloween popularized the genre.
Yeah. Well, Psycho, it feels like a different type of movie to me.
Right.
Both Halloween and Friday the 13th are here's a group of teens that who makes it out alive.
And it's for the scares and the thrills. Whereas Psycho, there's a lot going on in Psycho.
It's a lot deeper than that.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
That's all I got.
You want to hear the taglines?
Yeah, I do, actually.
I only took a couple. There was 9 taglines. Probably because it's been re-released a million times. This is the one on the poster. They were warned. They are doomed. And on Friday the 13th, nothing will save them.
I don't think all of them were warned.
No, I don't think so either. It was just a couple that were in the house when the guy said the ominous thing.
Yeah.
And then the girl with Enos.
Inaccurate.
One by one, they disappeared. Why?
That's also not a true accurate thing either.
I like this one. They figured it would be a long summer. What they didn't figure was that it would be a long summer that day.
I like that one.
I like that one. That's a good one.
That's the best one so far.
That's it. That's the only one. Those are the only ones I took.
I picked number 3.
Yeah. I saved the best one for last on purpose. Okay, you want me to do the plot?
Yeah.
Friday the 13th. I'm going to be honest, I have not read this yet. I just took it straight from Wikipedia, so we'll see. We'll see how this goes.
You want to read the whole thing?
Not the whole thing, but what I have here.
I'll chunk it out.
In 1958, at Camp Crystal Lake, 2 counselors sneak inside a cabin to be alone, where an unseen assailant murders them. You see it from first-person perspective.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing that's throughout the movie. Is a lot of it's from the killer's perspective.
Just like in the beginning of Halloween.
Yep.
In present day, camp counselor and cook Annie Phillips, played by, sorry, I didn't do this right, Robbie Morgan, hitches another ride from an unseen person. Oh, no, sorry, I skipped ahead. Annie Phillips is driven halfway to the reopened Camp Crystal Lake by truck driver Enos. Enos warns her about the camp's troubled past, beginning when a young boy drowned in Crystal Lake in 1957. After being dropped off at the halfway point, Annie hitches another ride from an unseen person who eventually murders her. At the camp, I'm not going to do the actors, counselors Ned, Jack, Bill, Marcy, Brenda, and Alice. Just know that Kevin Bacon is Jack, and Alice is Adrian King. Those are the 2 that are relevant. Along with owner Steve Christie, refurbish the cabins. As a thunderstorm approaches, Steve leaves for supplies. Ned then sees someone walk into a cabin and follows, while Jack and Marcy hang out alone. They are unaware of Ned's dead body above them on the bunk.
Yeah, it was a little spooky.
When Marcy leaves for the bathroom, Jack's throat is pierced with an arrow from below the bed. The killer next kills Marcy with an axe. Brenda hears a little boy's voice calling for help and ventures outside when the lights turn on and Brenda screams.
That was a little creepy.
Worried by the friends' disappearances, Alice and Bill investigate. They find the axe in Brenda's bed and the phone's disconnected. Steve returns and the unseen killer stabs him. When the power goes out, Bill goes to check on the generator. Alice then finds his body pinned with arrows to the door.
Okay, let me just say right here, that part where the killings start are like the last 40 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
Like you, rightfully so, did not include most of the first part of the movie, which is them just like, hey, we're hanging out.
Playing Monopoly.
Hey, we're playing Monopoly.
Yeah.
And hey, there's a weird guy over there. Oh, no, there's not. Like, it's like, oh my goodness.
Yep.
And then there's the diner lady who's like, what don't you want?
Yeah, exactly. Alice flees to the main cabin where Brenda's body is thrown through the window.
Yeah, I'm like, super strength.
Mrs. Voorhees, a middle-aged woman, played by Betsy Palmer, a middle-aged woman who claims to be a friend of Steve, arrives. She reveals that her son Jason was the young boy who drowned in 1957, and she blames his death on neglect by the counselors because they were hanging out alone instead of supervising him. Revealing herself as the killer, she attempts to kill Alice, and she like grabs her and she's
It's
like
iconic.
She's like
just
slapping her across the face. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's got to be the only horror movie where the killer like is like smacking people up.
It's so good.
At the shore of the lake, they struggle until Alice is able to decapitate her. Exhausted, Alice falls asleep inside a canoe that floats out on Crystal Lake. When she awakes, the corpse of what we assume is Jason drags her into the lake, at which point she awakens in a hospital surrounded by a police sergeant and medical staff.
Very Carrie vibes.
Yeah, exactly. The sergeant says there was no sign of a boy at the lake, to which Alice says, then he's still there. And we end on a shot of the lake.
With like a couple little
droplets,
on it.
yeah. Friday the 13th.
There it is. Yep. And honestly, that's about right.
Yeah.
The only cool parts are at the end, to be honest.
Yes.
Cool. Good job. All right. So I got a couple questions for you. I didn't go crazy here.
I have a few.
So obviously we didn't love this one, but how would you rank this among other classic horror films? And let's start with that, and then I have a second part to it.
Okay. It's my least favorite of like the big classic, I guess, 3 of Halloween, Elm Street, and this.
Mm-hmm.
Because I guess those are like the 3 more modern 70s and 80s kind of like franchise monsters that are like, you got Chucky, you got Pinhead, and like Candyman, but like none of those. I think these are the 3.
Yeah.
And I think that Jason's story, I think, is more interesting than Michael Myers' story.
Yeah.
Freddy Krueger's my favorite.
Yeah.
He's got the quips, it's cheesy, like it's the whole thing, but it's still scary. Like the concept is really scary.
Yeah.
This one, obviously we don't really get Jason in this one.
Right.
So it's hard for me to really compare in terms of like Jason against Freddy against Michael Myers. But I don't know. There's something about this one that I think something's missing here.
Yeah.
Not that it's bad. I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
But Halloween had, obviously Jamie Lee Curtis is great. I didn't think Adrian King, is that her name?
Yeah.
Was as good as her or Heather Langenkamp from Elm Street. But she did her job. Like the casting was going for. Like she read the lines. She was good. She was likable. She was whatever.
Yeah.
But it's missing it's missing the heart.
Yeah, I agree. That's what it comes down to. Is I feel like I didn't connect with Alice very much as a final girl.
Yeah.
Where I liked her. Like, of course,
Yeah.
I want to see everybody survive. No one was actually like bad, which I kind of liked.
No.
Like, I kind of liked that too.
In Elm Street, the one guy was kind of bad.
Yeah, I liked that here. Everyone was just likable and having a good time, which kind of made the killing seem even like worse. Where it's like, well, they didn't do anything.
Right.
And so I like that aspect of it, but I wish that we got a little bit more of like maybe Alice's background, maybe like there was this weird thing with her and Steve at the beginning, the owner of the camp. I wish that was explored a little bit more. I wanted to see her be vulnerable before the ending, where like we have to see her be kind of fight back. I like it where there's a reason why they have to fight back beyond just, oh, they're the bad guy and I have to survive.
Yeah. And she just happened to be the last one.
Exactly.
Like in Elm Street, Heather Langenkamp's character Nancy is like actively trying to find a way to kill Freddy for most of the movie.
Right.
And she's the final girl, not because she happens to be the final girl, but because she's the most resourceful, and she's the one who doesn't fall asleep. Remember, Johnny Depp's character falls asleep on accident.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like, she's the one that is in control.
Right.
And I find she's my favorite of like any of the final girls in the movies that I've seen. And Jamie Lee Curtis in Laurie in Halloween, the same thing. Like, she's aware of what's going on the whole time.
And she takes that protector role of
Yes.
the kids, which
Yes.
I like that aspect too, where like she is the one that is like the responsible one out of her group of friends. She's the one who really knows that like, oh, it's important that she takes her job as a babysitter seriously.
Yeah.
And she knows that like she has to protect the kids from this crazy guy.
Yeah, and you don't really get that in this one.
No, not at all.
She just happens to be the last one who died or is
surviving.
left.
Right, exactly. How would you rank Mrs. Voorhees among villains?
I loved her.
Me too.
She was by far the best part of this movie, and it's unfortunate. It works the way it is. Maybe it wouldn't have worked if she was in it more, but it worked. The final 15, 20 minutes worked for me a lot because Betsy Palmer just comes out of nowhere and just owns the screen.
She's got what I like is, and this is where the writers kind of, I think, specialty comes in. She comes in and she gives that like soapy, like overacting, like very overacting mixed with old Hollywood.
She's like, "Oh, I'm not scared."
Yeah, I love it. And I think that made it more compelling, more fun.
Yeah.
And it makes you kind of love to hate her.
Yeah. She was awesome.
She's more interesting than Michael Myers.
Without a doubt. Michael
who
Myers
just stands there.
We talked about
okay.
We talked about the first Halloween last year, so if you want to hear about that, go check it out.
Or Elm Street.
Oh, and Elm Street 2 last year, but I totally agree on Michael Myers. I don't find him to be particularly compelling. I don't find his story to be particularly compelling. But this one, I like the sort of bringing in the mother-son thing.
Yeah, I like
twisting
that too.
Psycho on its head.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
And I don't know. I just think that I don't know if it, like I said, I don't know if it would have worked if she was in it more, because like she's a blaze of glory in the last 15 minutes of this movie, 10 minutes, I guess. But maybe spread out, she wouldn't have been as effective. And if I think I read that there was an original either shot scene, like deleted scene, or an idea to have her in the beginning waving to Enos, like as they're driving away, but they decided to just not have her in it at all.
Yeah, and I think that works.
Yeah.
It would have been fine, I think, to have her just as one of the random patrons in the
diner.
Yeah. That would have worked, because then you could, it's a little.
But with Enos too, he knows who the kid was, so he would have been like, "Oh, and that was his mom in there."
Oh yeah.
So
maybe.
that might have created a little bit of a plot hole, but
yeah, right. So all right, what was your maybe besides Betsy Palmer, what was your favorite and least favorite thing about the movie? I can talk about mine.
Go ahead.
My favorite thing, it sounds like I'm just pandering, but it's the setting. And it's not just because it's New Jersey, but I really like the idea of these beautiful kind of forest areas that are idyllic, that have a cute camp that like, it's Camp Crystal Lake, and it's, it was so wonderful for so many years, and then it closed, and now it's getting ready to reopen. And it's like, you've got the cool, cute little diner that, people were at in the beginning, and then Steve went to, and it's just like this kind of small town in a rural area. And that's very much a lot of New Jersey.
It is,
even though
believe it or
people
not.
don't think that. And
if you've only seen the smog on the turnpike, you might not know.
Right, exactly. You've only been to the airport. But I like that, and I think that sets a nice tone for a horror movie, because you've got this kind of quiet, serene area, right? Especially that lake. And it
also,
being...
Crystal Lake is a perfect name for like that idyllic setting, because it's like, oh, it's crystal clear,
right.
I love it.
But then having it be where, it's punctuated by these moments of terror and violence. And what was kind of interesting too is in this one, as opposed to some of the other horror movies, is like until the very end where she sees, Alice sees a couple of her friends after they were killed. You don't really, like, no one ends up being like scared. right? Like there's not these like big screams of things for most of the people.
Oh no, they just turn around and get killed.
Exactly. So I kind of like that aspect of it. It's something a little bit different, as opposed to tons of like terror
Chasing
and screaming
and
and chasing.
It's more tension and mood building.
Yeah, which I like that
Which
about
Halloween
it.
was like that too.
Yeah. As far as I also love that it clearly they worked with the small budget, and you can really see the creativity in that.
One thing that they did to that point is, especially once night hit, everything was like pitch black. Like,
And you can tell in the movie.
they turned off the generator. Like that was a
Yeah.
plot point that they turned off the generator, and a lot of that I think was to just create that mood without having to do anything. You know,
Exactly.
like I love when movies use their budget to their advantage when they don't have much to work with.
Right.
I think that's a great thing that they did there.
Yep. So that's also part of like my favorite. As far as least favorite, I mean, we talked about the fact that it's boring.
Yeah.
And there's my least favorite aspect of it is the lack of character development and relationship building.
I said like 40 minutes into the movie that they were it was really bad at establishing character names even.
Yeah, because I didn't. If you ask like who the different girls were, what they're besides Alice, I don't know. I don't know who was who.
I forget. I said Kevin Bacon's name, and I said, "Oh, you got to remember that one because it's Kevin Bacon." But I
Right.
don't remember his name.
Exactly. I don't know.
One of them was Bill because I was like, imagine being.
No, I think Bill was the friend, the Bing Crosby's son.
Oh, okay. One of them was Bill, and I remember saying, "Imagine being 19 and named Bill."
Yeah.
That was like such a 1980
Very
thing.
1980 name. So yeah, I think that's probably my least favorite, and that's important to me. So that's probably why I didn't love the movie as much.
Yeah, I agree. That's probably my least favorite as well. Not only the characterization, but I don't really buy the relationships with each other even. Like there was no reason to really get behind these people other than the fact that their kid's getting killed.
Right.
But I will say that my favorite part might be the jump scare at the end when Jason, the body of Jason or whatever, jumps out of the lake and pulls her in.
Yeah.
Because that is nowhere else in the movie.
Right.
There's no other like supernatural thing in the movie other than Pamela Voorhees throwing a body through a window.
Yeah, she's got like macho strength, but then like immediately like can be
like she gets her wrist grabs and she falls to the ground.
Ow! I'm like, okay, well, didn't you just
launched
committed
the
all
body
these crimes?
You just hung somebody from a wall with a bunch of arrows. Like,
yeah, how come you're like crying right now?
What are we talking about
Girl.
here? What are we talking about here?
Which is iconic.
But I love that at the end they turned it into a dream.
Yeah.
Which is, I thought, effectively showed the trauma that she had from that whole experience.
Yeah.
It's like, and she's thinking about the right things here. She's thinking about the root cause of all of this, which is the death of Jason. Spoilers for part 2. What we thought was the death of Jason in 1957 or whatever it was.
Right.
So I liked that. I liked that it was. I'm not huge on jump scares, but when you have one that has a purpose, that one had a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It fit the plot. It fit the sort of what it was trying to get across.
Yeah.
And again, I liked the last 20 minutes of the movie, and I think that was a welcome addition.
Do you think that Jason's mad that he just like missed the Beatles?
Maybe.
I think that might have been
just before
why
Beatlemania.
he's mad.
That had to be around the time of the Buddy Holly like plane crash, right?
Yeah.
So he might have been in between.
He missed a lot of stuff. I think he's mad about popular culture stuff that he missed.
Yeah. And now he is popular culture. How about that?
How about that? Maybe he was like a really big Jets fan or something.
Why?
Because they stink now, and maybe they were like good back then and bad forever.
They won in the late 60s.
Okay. Yeah, so we missed it.
Yeah, he did miss it.
So maybe he was a Jets fan, and
Yeah.
he got mad because he didn't get to see their last win.
He's in that area.
And now he's back. Yeah, he definitely was a Jets fan.
Yeah, he had to be. When did the Jets? When did they become a team?
This is my theory.
No, he missed the Jets. They
Completely?
became a team in 1960.
Ah, darn, there goes my theory. My theory was that he was a big Jets fan as a kid, right? And then when he died in the lake, he was, gone. He missed their win in the 60s, and then he comes back in the 80s, and he's super unhappy.
Yeah.
He's like, now they're going to stink for literally 50 years.
If we're talking about the Giants, they won the NFL championship in 1956.
Mm-hmm.
They won it again. They went to it again in 1958, which is considered the greatest game ever played.
That might be it then.
Considered one of the most important events in furthering the NFL's popularity.
Yep, he missed it.
Giants lost in overtime to the Colts 23-17, and he missed it by a year.
There you go.
That's got to be it. I mean, he's upset. The Giants didn't win again until 86, it looks like. At least after he came back in 80 whatever, 81, I don't know. But they were bad for a while. And so maybe he's a Giants fan.
Yeah, and Tom, when did the Giants last win?
2000 what?
In like the late 2000s, right?
Yeah.
And we haven't seen a Friday the 13th movie since.
They won in like 2013. But they also won in 2007.
See? And then we got the remake and he's like, I'm
He
good.
said, I've seen enough.
I'm good.
I've
we
seen
won.
enough.
We won.
It was
we
probably
beat Tom
filmed.
Brady.
It was probably filmed before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can rest.
Yes. That's it.
That's it.
Jason
Jason is a Giants fan.
100%.
We came up with it.
We figured it out.
My last question here is, are there any other like camp movies or camp TV shows that you really like?
Yes.
My big one is The Parent Trap.
Okay.
Starts at like the whole thing is the twins meet at a camp and it looks like such a fun camp. And like they look like they're having a blast.
They meet each other at the camp and
Yeah.
then they realize like, oh my God,
Oh, Tom, we got to watch this movie.
we will.
They both get in big trouble because they're mean to each other. And they end up having to just like be in this like isolated cabin alone. And they both find out that they both like Oreos dipped in peanut butter. And they're like,
I love the idea that that's like genetic.
and she's like, oh my gosh, I've never met anyone who's liked it.
So
And then the other girl's like, yeah, me either.
I love that accents are not genetic, which we know they aren't. But I love that accents aren't genetic, but loving very specific
Oreos
snacks
with peanut butter
is
oh,
genetic.
And they're like, yeah, everyone else thinks it's disgusting. And I'm like, who thinks that's disgusting?
Also, you look exactly alike.
Well, and then she's like, oh, wow, cool. Yeah, my birthday is on October 11th or October 12th. And she's like, me too. And then you're like, and then they each have half of a picture because apparently the parents
Oh my
decided
God.
the best thing they could do was just cut the picture in half and give the half of like who they're not with anymore to the other kid.
It's like 3 identical strangers vibes.
And guess what? It fit.
Wow.
I love that movie. All right. What do you like? What camp movies?
Wet Hot American Summer.
Oh, that's a good one.
Wet Hot American Summer, if you haven't seen it, is a comedy from 2000, I believe. And it's got everybody. He's got everybody. You name it. It's written and directed by Michael Showalter. Bless you. Erin just sneezed. And
No, bless Michael Showalter.
bless Michael Showalter. It also starred like Paul Rudd, Elizabeth Banks, Bradley Cooper, Amy Poehler, John Hamm. He might have been in the TV show version.
Don't know.
It was Chris Maloney, Molly Shannon. It has like all these people before they were famous.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Is Michael Ian Black in there?
Michael Ian Black is in there. Yes.
I know him from I Love the 80s.
Joe Latrulio's in there.
Oh, King.
Yeah, from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Love him.
So Wet Hot American Summer is the first one that comes to mind, both the movie and the first season of the TV show, which takes place. So the movie takes place on the last day of summer camp.
Uh-huh.
The TV show, filmed like 15 years later, takes place on the first day of that same summer camp with the same actors.
Yeah.
So like they're all older and heavier and out of shape, but they don't reference that they're.
That's funny.
It's as if in canon they got younger and in better shape as this summer went on.
I love that.
It's very funny. The second season gets a little crazy. They bring in like Ronald Reagan. Like it's like the whole
Yeah.
There's like a nuclear threat. It's like
Yeah.
it's like the whole thing. But I really love the movie and I really love the first season of the TV show.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
That's the only question I have.
Okay. Well, yes, like 5.
Besides all the other ones.
Yeah. Do you like Monopoly?
You know what? I do, but I never played it. Okay, so this is actually interesting timing because yesterday I watched an hour 20-minute long All Ears Net video where they played a like real live version of Monopoly in Disney World, and it took like all day. And I was
Why
like,
would you spend a day in Disney World doing that?
they were exhausted because the winner got to do a My Perfect Day video. So
Okay.
they were like all competing to win. And it was really fun to watch. And like if you had to go to jail, you had to like do a it's like fun. So great. I like their videos. They do like fun challenges. But I was like thinking I never played like a full game of Monopoly. I always just played Like we wouldn't build houses or hotels. It would just be like, oh, you own it, and then you just give. Like, we didn't play it with strategy. I would love to try and play it now.
My family played it once or twice. I loved Monopoly. I was always the thimble.
I like the thimble.
Yeah.
The only one I don't like is the shoe.
Yeah. I don't know what the pieces are now. I know some of them are different. I
Yeah.
don't think the thimble's there anymore.
I always used to be the thimble too growing
That's
up.
how you know. That's
how you know you're meant to be.
Yes, exactly. I also liked Monopoly.
Two little thimbles.
I also didn't play it as much as I probably would have liked
We
to.
should
Because
play Monopoly.
it's a long game.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of attention and stuff like that.
Guess where it takes place.
New Jersey.
It
The
does.
Boardwalk.
Best state in the union.
Yes. New Jersey Connection for free. You got 2 this episode.
2 for 1 special.
Okay. Hitchhiking has to be the scariest thing that used to happen all the time.
It's a hard no
right?
from me.
Why was it okay? Like,
I
I'm sure obviously some people still do it. We know the people who go across the bridge in New York do it. In Fort Lee.
We did it that one time, and I will
with
never
John.
do it again. I didn't know it was happening until like 2 seconds before it was happening.
Yeah.
That was not good.
It was to get in the carpool lane to go across.
Yeah,
into New
so
York.
there's a thing in like Fort Lee. I don't know if it's in other places up in North Jersey where like there's people that just wait on the side of the road right before the bridge, and people will pull over so you can jump in the car so that they can go in the carpool lane.
Yeah.
And
our friend did it all the time to get to work.
every day to go to work.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how is that okay? So people still do that. Yeah. But to do it on like a desolate road.
Like when we went on the Amtrak across the country, like this would be like us doing this in like Montana.
Yeah. It just couldn't happen.
We had enough weird vehicles rides in Montana that
Yeah. No.
This would have been a step too far, I think.
I do think that with the lessening of hitchhiking, that's acceptable in general society, we are seeing less ideas in horror movies being able to come to fruition.
Yeah. What else do I have? One other question, and then we're going to do another 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, because we did one for Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which was, I think, the only other Kevin Bacon movie we did. So we're going to do another one for
Although
this.
we watched A Few Good Men recently, and he was really good in that.
He was the other attorney, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was good.
Okay, my last question. Do you like that we kind of talked about this, but just the direct question. Do you like that the movie gives absolutely no insight into the killings until the very end?
I kind of like that, because then you're wondering, like, why. I also think that a lot of times in movies, like, you don't go into it, like, thinking about that. Like, you're like, oh, I'm going to watch a horror movie. Then there's going to be a lot of, like, crazy stuff going on. And to have it be for a reason, and for a reason that I think a lot of people could understand, like, obviously not understand the killings, but, you know, you hear people say, like, oh, when you have a child, you would do anything for them.
Yeah.
And so
this is a person who wasn't able to do anything for her child.
Exactly. And so it's an interesting motivation where, no, of course, you wouldn't do this.
Right.
But you can almost be like, all right, well, it's different than Michael Myers, who's just like, oh, he's just bad.
He's insane.
Yeah. Like, okay. Or Freddy Krueger's a really bad guy, right? Like, it's like, okay, she's obviously a bad person, but you can see her motivation.
Yeah.
And it's for a more human reason than maybe some of these other villains. And so I kind of like that little, like, there's nothing in no reason. And you don't even think it's a woman, let alone a mom, a grieving mom.
Right.
So it's an interesting little twist there.
I also like how she's supposed to be middle-aged. Like maybe, let's say, I don't know, 40 or 50, but she looks like she's like 70.
She's older, though. Think about it.
Well,
she was like 30 when her son died.
Yeah. And
that was in the 50s. Now
21 years ago, 22 years ago.
Yeah, so she's at least in her 50s.
Yeah, but she's not like 8. Like, she looks old.
She doesn't look 8.
She's wearing like a beaded sweater. Like, she looks like what you would think is like a stereotypical grandma looks like.
Okay, everyone looked older back then.
I guess. Yeah, that's Hitchhiking. Not for me.
No.
It's just not. All right, we're going to do our 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. So we have our movie tarot cards that we bought one time from Jazam's, I think.
Yeah, Jazam's, which is a kid's toy store, which is a really cool one.
So we've got 78 cards here. Do you want to do Kevin Bacon to this person?
Yes.
Okay. So we're each going to draw a card, and we are going to try to connect Kevin Bacon to that person in 6 or less steps.
Yeah, but can it be certificates rather than degrees?
Yeah, so certificates last time was like this person dated this person. and-
Yeah, or like this person was in a commercial that like then the other like
Right.
oh Danny
you're-
DeVito was the spokesperson for
Or if you're connecting like Spike Lee and Samuel L. Jackson, who are in the like those commercials together.
right.
All right. So I'm going to give Erin her choice. I know you just saw the bottom one, but her choice of card.
Okay, let's see. I picked nobody.
Nobody.
Let me pick another one. I picked Bill Murray.
All right. And I picked nobody. And I picked nobody.
Uh-oh.
And I picked Al Pacino. Kevin Bacon and Al Pacino were probably in a movie together.
Maybe, but if you don't know, you got to find it another way.
Yeah. Do you want to go first?
Yeah.
All right. So Kevin Bacon to Bill Murray.
All right,
I
here's
feel like they were probably in a movie together too.
Okay, ready? Kevin Bacon was in Animal House with John Belushi, who was in the Blues Brothers with Dan Aykroyd, who was in Ghostbusters with Bill Murray. That was easy.
There you go.
I was good at that.
Let's see.
And I
here.
did it the traditional way, too.
Yeah. Let's see here. Kevin Bacon was in, let's say, A Few Good Men with Jack Nicholson,
Yes.
who was in who was in Anger Management with Adam Sandler, who
Yeah.
was in Jack and Jill with Al Pacino.
Dunkachino.
We got to Jack and Jill. Thank you.
That was good. We were good at this.
Yeah.
That was
yeah,
perfect. Good ones.
we are. Okay. Yeah, so that's my last question. The only note I had on this movie was obsessed with the diner waitress, as always.
I love the diner. That's like my end goal in life, I think.
Just to be a diner waitress.
Yeah. Shout out to, what's her name? To Leslie. To
What?
Leslie.
Oh, To Leslie. The movie everyone remembers from last year.
Yo, I liked that movie so much, actually.
It was good. All right, so I'll do Tom's top 5 trivia. Number 1. Because the camp was closed during filming and situated in the deep New Jersey woods, the cast and crew didn't see much outside interference, but it turned out they had a very famous neighbor. Rock star Lou Reed, who owned a farm nearby.
It's random.
One of the sound men said, "We got to watch Lou Reed play for free right in front of us while we were making a movie. He came by the set and we hung out with each other, and he was just a really great guy."
Love that.
Yeah. Number 2 is what you said earlier. When casting the movie, Sean Cunningham said he wasn't looking for great actors. He wanted anyone who looked good, seemed likable, read the dialogue fairly well, and worked cheap.
Yep.
Number 3, Betsy Palmer, who was a method actress,
Yes.
gave Mrs. Voorhees a detailed backstory. She imagined that she hated transgressions
Mm-hmm.
because she had Jason out of wedlock with a high school boyfriend, and her parents ultimately disowned her for her sins because that, quote, isn't something that good girls do.
Oh, that's sad.
Number 4, Betsy Palmer. Oh, this was it. Betsy Palmer insisted that Sean Cunningham put her in the beginning of the movie at the diner or waving to Annie on the road as she's hitchhiking so that the audience will have some clue who the killer is. Cunningham said no, although the killer was unforeseeable, and though the rest of the movie was criticized by the critics, the ending ended up getting a lot of praise, particularly the jump scare at the end and Palmer's chilling performance. And number 5, Kevin Bacon claims that he gets asked to sign screenshots from his death scene in this movie more than any other movie he's been in.
Nice.
Yeah. And one casting note, turned down the role of Alice, Sally Field.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been...
They said they couldn't afford her anyway.
Yeah, that would have been cool, though.
Yeah, I like her.
Well, what they said was the fact that it would have been like casting Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween because they're both daughters of famous people.
Oh, who's Sally Field's parents? I didn't know she was a Nepo baby.
Her mom was famous.
Okay.
Margaret Field. She was an actress.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So obviously Jamie Lee Curtis being Tony Curtis's daughter,
And Janet Leigh.
and Janet Leigh, which again is a whole other connection to
Psycho.
slashers. Yeah. All right, and I think my last thing is the Siskel. All right, so this is an article on Up Rocks from 2015, and it's called "Siskel and Ebert versus Friday the 13th."
Who wrote it?
Chris Egertson. A brief, scathing history. And so All right. Gene Siskel in 1980 wrote a famously scathing review of this movie. He gave it half a star.
Oof, that's rough.
I'm not going to read the whole thing, but in the Uprocks article it says, calling director-producer Sean S. Cunningham one of the most despicable creatures ever to infest the movie business. Siskel was so outraged by the film that he spoiled the third act reveal in the third paragraph. He said, "It has been suggested to me that a great way to keep people from seeing a truly awful movie is to tell them the ending."
He's a king.
He encouraged readers to write letters of complaint to both the chairman of Gulf and Western, then parent company of Paramount Pictures, and inexplicably, star Betsy Palmer, who was just trying to earn money for a car. 1980, Siskel and Ebert's Sneak Previews, the precursor to At the Movies, dedicates an entire episode to the disturbing new trend that is the burgeoning slasher genre. They talk about the movie The Howling, which is apparently a werewolf movie. They have a whole, there's 2 videos on YouTube about it. It's a whole thing. 1981, Ebert publishes his first print review for a film in the franchise, Friday the 13th Part 2, which he awards 1/2 of a star.
That's supposed to be the best one.
It's not clear what the half star was for, but needless to say, the film nearly destroyed his fondest childhood memories. Roger concludes his takedown, which is about half plot explainer, with the following sentence: "This review will suffice for the Friday the 13th film of your choice." That would hold until 2002's Jason X, which Roger also awarded 1/2 star, and noted was released on the 16th anniversary of Chernobyl, another famous meltdown.
Oh, no.
Ebert, come on. 1984. Roger opens a classic At the Movies rant by calling Friday the 13th the final chapter an, quote, immoral and reprehensible piece of trash. Some highlights. When Roger sarcastically calls the executives at Paramount geniuses. The way Roger says, "Yeah, real great," after playing a clip from the movie. When Roger's alarmist tendencies take over and he announces that Friday the 13th, the final chapter, will strike existential despair into the heart of every teenager who sees it, summing up the film as follows: "It doesn't matter if you have a new boyfriend or a new girlfriend or you've got plans for the future. You can forget those plans because you're going to wind up dead."
Oh, my God.
And then the other highlight is when Gene calls Roger's tape soapboxy. He reviewed the following year, Friday the 13th, A New Beginning. Roger called the film more leftover recycled garbage. More highlights. When Roger charmingly pronounces garbage as garbage. Roger openly wonders how Jason's hockey mask could look so good after being burned, sliced, and crushed in the previous 2 movies, or how he could have managed to buy a new one at the store being Jason. Let's see. When Gene admits he slows down a little for traffic accidents but doesn't get out and look, which would of course be the equivalent of watching a Friday the 13th movie. And finally, in 2009, when Roger reviewed the Friday the 13th reboot and awarded it 2 stars out of 4 and called it about the best Friday the 13th movie you could hope for.
Beautiful.
Roger, Siskel, and Ebert were...
Two of one of a kind.
Oh my Lord! When we watch Life Itself, just seeing the 2 of them,
I really just wish that they were just a streaming thing for just At the Movies. I would watch it every day.
I'm sure there's a million on YouTube, but absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's all I've got on Friday the 13th.
Great.
Yeah, that's it. So does Friday the 13th make Baby's first watch list?
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Well, again, it's one of those where it's like you kind of got to see it eventually.
You got to watch it.
You know, because Jason is such a...
Well, it's so funny, too, because, like, especially if you're a horror fan, like, I was saying to my students this week, I was like, Friday the 13th, I just watched that movie. And one of the boys, I guess, is a big horror fan. He was like, yeah, they're so good. Which one did you see? And I said the first one. He goes, no, you got to watch the third one. So you got to watch it.
It's Jason.
It's Jason.
Not in this one, but...
He's in it.
Yeah, technically he is. Both live and corpse.
Yep.
Okay, so what are your takeaways? Basically, all right, my takeaway is don't do anything that any of these characters does in this movie.
Yeah, no Monopoly.
No Monopoly ever. No running around in the dark at the camp when there's killers running around.
Yeah.
Don't go to the camp where there's been somebody who's been murdered.
Yeah.
Or died.
It's a good idea.
It's just, I don't care if you believe in ghosts, doesn't matter. Just don't do it. Just stay out of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. I think that's all we can ask for.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much it.
That's pretty much
That's
it.
the message.
Yeah.
Just don't do what any of these people do. Okay, and so yeah, that's Friday the 13th. Next week, we actually just watched it today already. We watched it early.
Yep.
We are covering 1975's Rocky Horror Picture Show.
It's a classic.
Yeah, it was very fun. It was my first time watching it. We're actually going to see it tomorrow, which is Sunday, so we will have already seen it by the time this comes out. A theater production at Bucks County Playhouse, starring Frankie Grande as Frank Infurter.
Yes, that's right.
So yeah,
it's a family fave in my house growing up.
Yeah, it was my first time watching it. I'm glad I watched it. It was fun. It's
Super
not.
fun.
It was honestly more or less what I expected.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I texted my dad and said that we watched it, and I said, "Oh, I really like that music. I'm excited to see it live." And all he answered was, "What did Tom think?" He doesn't care about my opinion.
What did you say?
He said hated it. No, he said it was very fun, and he gave it 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd, which is better than he usually gives movies.
Well, not by much. I mean, I usually give 3.5.
3.5.
3.5.
Above average.
Yeah. No, I liked it. I would watch it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we watched it with 2 of our friends, which was fun. So yeah, tune in for Rocky Horror Picture Show, and hopefully we'll have a good time at the show tomorrow, and then we're gonna integrate our thoughts on that as well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, so thanks for listening to Friday the 13th, and as always, rate, review, subscribe, follow. Yeah, so we will see you next week for Rocky Horror.
Goodbye.
See you later.